So, we talk about, you talked about Uthakwanti. So how I'm looking at, when I listen to you talk about this in a nutshell, I would look at it in terms of, I think a lot of more inquiring is required from everyone, right? So whenever you're given something, you have to question it, you have to query it, you have to find the real truth and the source into it. So
Yes.
discrimination of what is actually the truth and what isn't. And I think that is, that's within the yogic philosophy as well, buddhi, working on your buddhi, and I think that is something which really does need to be built on when it comes to helping with Utkwanti and developing people's minds, right, and focusing on that. I think, with everything, I mean, I think it's also with just news, we'll talk about this later, but narratives and just real, not just believing, right? First
Yeah.
questioning, understanding the source, understanding, is this really the truth, and having that ability to discriminate, right? And I
Yes.
think if that is if this happens with all the misconceptions, there's so much. I know you've talked about this on different topics, various topics, and I think all of these topics need to be tapped into by as many people as possible to um, just question and not take your word for it, not take my word for it, not take
Yeah.
any guru's word for it, but go and question and find out for themselves, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the battle against narratives is arguably the most important battle that we are fighting right now. I think, in terms of our physical and national defenses, I think we have that figured out. We have an incredible defense force that is um, that I cannot say enough good things about. But I think they have that figured out. I think the more crucial battle right now is the one against narratives, because if we lose the battle against narratives, then honestly our defense forces don't have much to fight for, uh, because then what they are fighting for is still a colonized nation, not colonized in terms of on paper, but colonized effectively in every other capacity, because our minds and intellectual capabilities are still colonized. um, Narratives inform our jeevandrishti, they inform our worldview, they inform our gestalt. And that Jivan Drishti, you know, institutions are always downstream of culture, almost always downstream of culture. That is, Jivan Drishti defines Vyavahar, Vyavasai, and institutions and organizations. Um, because if an organization is not reflective of the overall Jivan Drishti, or the aggregate Jivan Drishti of a society, um, it will cease to be relevant. And I mean, anecdotally, we are seeing that now with Bollywood, right? One of the major reasons that it is going through a major slump, actually, in its box office collections, or just overall perception, is that somewhere they seem to have lost that connect with the average Jivan Drishti of the Indian mindset. And that's a very common criticism we hear from Bollywood as well, right? That you can't really relate to it. They're not really understanding. Um, they not really don't have their pulse on what the Indian consumer is actually thinking about and is actually like. Um, and of course, there are many other reasons for Bollywood slump, but this is a big one. And you can see that, because if you lose that connection with Jivan Drishti, or if an organization or institution does not reflect Jivan Drishti, then it is bound to be irrelevant, very quickly. Um, a lot of our institutions are not Indian. They're not Indic. And there is still a lot of Indic thought and Indic presence that can be felt in those institutions. Over time, those institutions need to evolve as well. But that can happen only once our Jivan Drishti is authentically Indian, right? Once our Jivan Drishti is not marred by uh, some opinion that some scholar, some historian had, sitting in the West, not really having understood anything about India, Indic history, and It can't be based on that. Our Jeevan Drishti needs to be based on us, our history, and our society alone. And that can inform our thought process. And we learn from everybody, we take from everybody, but the foundational aspects have to come from us. They have to come from Indic knowledge systems and Indic sources. And only then can we truly say that, okay, this is an Indian and this is a Bharatiya civilization. Otherwise, we are Bharat in name only. We're not Bharat in our thinking and our mindset.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.